Right, joining us from Asaba for more is the Commissioner for Information at Delta State, Mr. Charles Anyagu. Thank you for coming on the program News Across Nigeria.
Thanks, Ayo.
Great to have you again. Now, you just watched the job creation report. In the next 5 months, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa's administration will end as the governor of Delta State. So, can you tell us the achievements so far in the area of job creation, even as we speak?
Well, thank you. Before I proceed to letting you into how much progress we've made in the last 7.5 years, let me quickly inform you what gave rise to our initiation of these different job creation platforms. We came in at a time where it was end for government across the length and breadth of this country to open up the civil service and bring in people, even when they may not have activities that they could possibly engage in which case there might not be any vacancy, and individuals who just claim that they are employing people and then they bring them into the civil service. And at the end of the day, no productivity is going on. Today, across the length and breadth of this country, as people are campaigning, you hear of moving from consumption to production. In Delta, we have long moved into production and moved away from consumption. And so in 2014, as Okowa was moving around the length and breadth of the 25 local government area, he made it very, very clear that he's going to bring back the jobs. And that the best way he's going to do it is to ensure that we create individuals who become entrepreneurs in their own right and also proceed to employ other Deltans. And 7.5 years down the line, we've been able to have over 16,000 of them directly. And then, of course, we also have some remote persons who have gained employment through these individuals that were trained directly, to the extent that the multiplier effect has gone in excess of 100,000 persons who have become entrepreneurs in their own right. But what is unique about the Delta State approach to job creation is that we do not only train them in relevant skills. And just like you saw in that report, we also proceed to teach them and bring them up to speed with respect to management of the businesses that they may possibly at the end of the day engage in, such that you don't just receive the starter packs after your training and then you are left in the cold to begin to find your feet. We proceed again to mentor them to ensure that they are able to understand how to save their resources that they may garner in the course of time, know how to also treat the customers, know the areas where you can possibly localize your business, know how to proceed with expansion processes, and possibly approach financial institutions for the purpose of securing facilities that could aid you in expanding your business faster than anyone could imagine. And so we are quite happy that a number of these persons that we have trained in different skill sets have become entrepreneurs. Today in Delta, what we say is certification and not certification. Certification is locally put sabi, that is what you know, and that speaks to the skills. You do know that for a very long time in our country, individuals in the area of maybe tiling, in the area of POP, in the area of furniture making, over time became very, very scarce to the extent that they were coming in from Niger Republic and Benin Republic. But today, by the grace of God in Delta, we are now exporting skills, because in the last 7 years, we have trained quite a number of persons in these different fields, and of course, many other fields. And so we are quite happy that we have recorded over 70% in one of our platforms, that job creation platform, which we call the Girl Entrepreneurship Skill Training, GEST. That particular program records over 98% success, in which case you have majority of the person trained becoming very, very successful. In other platforms, we record between 75 to 90%, and you know what that means, that level of success. We have ensured that those who equip do not proceed to sell the equipment that were given to them. And that is made possible by the different levels of training that we subject them to. So my brother Ayo, we are quite happy. We do hope that other states will emulate this, because it helps a long way in addressing the very complicated issue of stomach infrastructure. It's good to build infrastructure by way of roads, bridges, that we have done quite considerably, but doing so without paying very, very critical attention to the human capital may end up producing roads and bridges that you are going to have illiterates and unemployed people plying them. But in Delta, we build bridges and other infrastructure, and we also proceed to enable our people to have the capacity to apply them and apply them very, very comfortably.
All right, Commissioner, you just actually talked on what I was going to ask you next, talking about infrastructure development. But quickly, the PDP vice presidential candidate, of course, who is the governor of Delta State now, Ifeanyi Okowa, definitely he'll be going for the elections. What is the plan for job creation for the youth across the country? Across board, from what we've experienced from his administration in Delta State. Do you think what entails in Delta can actually work in the broader sense in Nigeria?
If you recall, when the presidential candidate of the PDP made a choice of Okowa as his running mate, he gave a whole lot of reasons beyond the fact that he is quite presidential. He also addressed the fact that Okowa has also made a very considerable contribution to the development of his state and, of course, improvement of manpower. Now, answering specifically the issues you raised with what is likely going to export to the federal level, the beauty of it is that Atiku, the presidential candidate, have also made it very, very clear in dealing with the issue of economic angle of his 5-point agenda that is going to ensure that $10 billion is going to be set aside for the purpose of enhancing advancement in both micro and micro aspect of our economy. And that means that the number of the informal sector will be enhanced such that the individuals will not only have resources to be able to kickstart their businesses, but in terms of expansion, that they will have ready funds for them to approach a financial institution, of course, which will be aided by the policy of the federal government, for them to be able to have access to funds that will aid them in expanding their businesses. And so what Okowa has done in Delta becomes quite ready and available for this duo who, by the grace of God, will be recovering our country from where we are at the moment to begin to bring back the jobs. What we earnestly yearn for at the moment is the need for a number of our youths to be gainfully employed. A situation where you have over 60% of youth unemployment and, of course, over 30% of unemployment generally is not acceptable. Perhaps it's one of the reasons why insecurity is gaining appreciable ground. We do believe, and that is to say Okowa and Atiku do consider it a fact that to be able to fight issues of corruption, to be able to fight issues of insecurity, to be able to advance our country so that our economy begin to blossom once again, you need to bring back the jobs. And one of the ways to bring back the job is not to just employ people into the civil service, but to make individuals to become very, very productive. And that's the faster way to move from consumption to productivity. And what we are doing in Delta is a ready example, is something that, of course, will be brought to bear in that administration. And luckily, like I said earlier, Atiku is a man who also understands how to create the jobs. He has done it even in the private sector. And as somebody who is coming on board by the grace of God from May 29, 2003, I do hope, and I'm quite optimistic, that this duo will make sure that the youth jobs return to our country and that our youth become quite entrepreneurial, given the fact that they are quite skillful in a number of ways.
All right, Commissioner for Information, Delta State, Mr. Charles Onyago, thank you for your thoughts on the program News Across Nigeria. Thank you once again.
Thanks, Ayo, and thanks for all the support.